So I'm going to try something different today, and hopefully Dad takes the kids away long enough that we can finish. My time frame is always working around the kids. This is how I do my giant balls. Very professional looking. As you can tell, I am quite the professional. Anywho, I thought today I would just work up a mesh swatch. This is maybe for practicing. I have to count. Pause my talking. Some of you don't like me talking. Just talk about the pattern, Ashley. Stop. But I can't help it. Words just come out. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. You might wonder, why am I doing 21? Well, that's the size of the chart for my 10 window squares. So I always do 21 plus 3. This is how, this is the regular way you would start. You can do this beginning the same way you do our chainless foundation, but I thought I'd show more videos of this version too. So now I'm going to count these back bumps here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you chained an extra 4, you would actually be going into your 7th one, but I just did 3. I'm doing a double crochet, US terminology again, which you could probably tell by my accent. I am not living in the UK. And I'm going to do just like the regular patterns. If you've been following any of my other locked fillet mesh, this is just the mesh. We're not locking it with anything this time. We're just making the mesh. So I've chained 1 here. I'm going to double crochet. So you can see it's making these windows. I chained 1 and I skipped 1 at the bottom. So we're going to skip 1 at the bottom. We're going to chain 1 at the top. And then we're going to double crochet in there. Chain 1 at the top, skip 1 at the bottom, double crochet in there. If I was to tell you some of my strange imaginings, like I'm sure some of you know who Bob Ross is, I wish I could be like him. He'd be my goal, I guess. He paints and he makes these beautiful things, but he kind of chats at the same time. And he doesn't focus too much on his own life. Like, his wife died. He didn't really say anything about it, but he did mention in his video, you know, he was feeling a little sad that day. And sometimes he would have cute little animals on. I don't really plan on getting any cute little animals, but the concept of like doing my art, I consider this a form of art, and just talking to people about it, I like that. Fix my little earbud here, make sure it's not falling out. There we go. He also had like a full-on studio with producers, and probably his materials cost more money because it was a real production. Nowadays, everybody can just make a YouTube production. That's what I am. We're just making stuff we find at home. This Windows looks familiar if you've done my other ones. This is just how we start our foundation. Then you would be taking your other color and putting it on, but I'm just making the mesh. We're just doing 1 color today. 1, 2, 3. You can do 4 if you want. Double crochet. We're not going to go into this gap. We're just going to go right here, right above this stitch where you would normally crochet. Make sure you're going under 2. That's the V. Some people are newer to crocheting and they maybe don't know what is considered normal, or maybe I'm not normal. Who knows? You can tell me, I guess. You tell me, am I normal? Chain 1. I'm skipping that one and just going into the stitch. This is essentially what you are doing when you're making the locked fillet mesh. You're just crocheting this, only you happen to have another color in the way. And sometimes you put it in the way in the front, and sometimes you put it in the way in the back. So I thought if we did this, we could look at the gauge that we're getting. On my patterns, my gauge says 4 double crochet equals 1 inch. And mostly I put it like that because I didn't really know what else to put. Pretty new to making patterns, and it seemed pretty complicated to write out a mesh pattern. I didn't really know if I was supposed to write out a whole pattern to make a gauge swatch. And like, do you need a gauge when you're making just a square? As long as your squares are the same size, you should be fine. So I tried to make it look professional by putting a gauge, but I don't know, it might have just confused people more. And you will find that there are different kinds of mesh available. I'm sure there's a whole section of mesh, right? Different lengths of your stitches or going into the holes so that you get more of a honeycomb shape, right? This is just how my patterns are. You would just have two mesh squares that happen to be woven together. There is some debate on the Ravelry boards. I don't know how familiar, some of you might not be on Ravelry, but they're talking, some people are talking, they're hoping to get a new category so that if you wanted to make a locked fillet mesh thing, or, you know, there's different designers, they call it different things, you would have something to look for. Now here, you could skip a chain and go in your actual stitch if you wanted to be really particular. That's just too hard for me, right? I just go in the window. Ta-da! Because I plan on putting a border on most of my patterns, it doesn't matter to me that it's there. Technically it is slippy slidey. So if you go into actual stitch, it's not going to slip and slide. But because I put a border on most of my things, it gets stuck anyways. If it's not something you like to look at, do it a different way. It's your project. And I am going to make this mesh square basically the size of the wave or that little plus sign, which I didn't make a video of the plus sign yet. I don't really like the plus sign. I think it's a very boring design. I just made it so that people could get used to finding the stitches, and then there's just a small amount that is intermeshed so that they can see the front and the back and how it works. Which is why then I came up with more, the hearts and the wave. But I also have a market bag, which has a fancy shoulder strap that goes all the way around the bag. But the actual walls of the bag are just this, not just a little mesh. That makes the strap a lot heavier than the sides of the bag. And of course I used worsted weight. So it's kind of a funky little bag. Maybe I should go get it and show you. My daughter might have toys in it. She's claimed pretty much everything I make. Pretty much everything I make is for her, but sometimes they weren't supposed to be. I like this because I don't have to count. I don't have to worry about fronts and backs. I just go. I'm also working on a shawl. You might have seen pieces of it if you do follow me on Instagram. I can't remember if I shared pieces of it on Facebook. I think I did. There's a picture of my baby playing peekaboo with it. Baby Melody is like the cutest baby, which isn't really fair to my other two children because they're not babies anymore. So, you know, she's the cutest baby right now. But she really is. She's so cute. And I don't really want to plaster her all over the internet, but she's kind of adorable. So can't help but put her out there sometimes. Now I should count. Oh no, I'm not there yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows. I want it to be 10 by 10. I want to show you my shawl that I'm working on. The shawl is a locked fillet mesh design, and I drew it up myself, and I'm kind of proud of it. But that makes me actually kind of nervous about it. Every time I come up with these new designs, like everything you see on my Ravelry store, I come up with them and I think, oh, they may be good enough. And then I put them on and it's live and someone might buy it or they might not, or they might tell me it's ugly or they might find a mistake. And I get nervous and I don't want to beg people like, please tell me it's beautiful. But really it feels so nice when people are like, I love your Mother's Day crochet along. Oh, I love all these flowers. Oh, it's so beautiful. Your designs are amazing. Like, who doesn't want to hear that? So do keep telling me that they're lovely. The compliments are really fabulous. And if you do have a problem with them, like just because they're not your personal preference, keep that to yourself. But if there's actually a real problem, just let me know, because sometimes I have mistakes. I think everything I have up right now has already been made, so there should be no more mistakes. But through the last 2 months or so, are we at 2 months or 3 months now? I don't even remember. I don't even know what day it is. Stay-at-home moms are, the same day every day. Plus all this weird world thing where my husband's working from home, I'm not going to talk about that. It's really making my days blend into each other. Every day is the same. I don't even know if it's a weekend because he takes breaks at random times. If the kids are screaming, suddenly, yeah, look at that. He's taking a break. And we're also renovating the house. So if he's not in the back room working on like his legit job, sometimes he's outside working on house renovations. I don't know where he is all the time. So I don't know what he's working on. I just know he's busy. All right, here is my square. It's not even a square. It's a rectangle. I can already tell. But it has the 10 by 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can tell it's not a square, it's a rectangle. There is a tutorial on lifting and pulling. I don't have a tutorial on it, but maybe I should make one. It tells you how to make it more square. For my purposes, I don't really mind. So maybe when I get more professional, I'll want things to look more professional. This is also where you could block. Because this is just an acrylic, the blocking technique will be different if you're using cotton or wool or whatever you happen to be using. And that's just a little mesh square. So I got to get my ruler. I got my measuring tape. I think I have seen these funny little square things that people use for gauge swatches. I don't have one. Again, my super professional status, right? This is how you do it. I know that you don't measure from the edges. You always pick an inside stitch. So we're going to put it there. I'm picking that stitch just because. And you can see it kind of, we got a stitch and then a gap, a stitch and a gap, a stitch and a gap, right? And if you get to 1 inch, it's a stitch and a gap, a stitch and a gap. It doesn't cover this stitch. The line stops, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why I made my gauge swatch of 4. Some people say 4 inches would be more accurate, but it's the same because even from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this inch is showing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't really see the purpose of making it 4 inches versus 1, but that's the way some people like it. If we do rows, again, picking not the outside edge, here's one row, and here's the second row. And it's sort of 1 inch, which is why mine is a bit taller than it should be. Just because of how I crocheted today, my height made it a bit tall. You could, if you wanted to, make it into a bag. Here's my bag. Whoa, that's too close to the video.